Cultural anthropologists study human behavior by observing an ancient civilization's context and piece together what is collected through experimental archaeology. Experimental archaeology attempts to test a hypothesis about a culture by replacing the viability of an ancient culture by replicating tasks or achievements. Is it a prerequisite for cultural anthropologists to understand the art in the Indus Valley that they must similarly recognize and understand the culture which fabricated the art? The curly-haired miniature bronze dancing girl from Mohenjo Daro establishes the oldest form and rarest artifact worldwide. This video will explain the Mohenjo-Daro civilization, describe the bronze process developed by the artisans from the Indus Valley 4,000 years ago, and try to answer the question, to understand the art, do you need to understand the culture? The Indus Valley encompassed most modern-day Pakistan, western India, and northwestern Afghanistan, with rich farming lands surrounded by deserts and oceans for travel. The Indus River surged out of the Himalayan mountains and deposited rich fertile silt in the valleys below, allowing the Neolithic people to set up small villages around 5,000 years ago. The fertile landscape gave way to planned cities at Mohenjo-Daro, Harappa, and Lothal by 3300 BCE. By this time, the Indus Valley people grew cotton, numerous crops, and domesticated animals such as water buffaloes. By 2600 BCE, the Indus Valley grew from small settlements into large urban centers with a septic system to flush away contaminated water. Town planning was a specialty of the Indus Valley, giving way to numerous inventions and innovations which we also use today in the 21st century. The large cities were usually divided into the citadel area above the floodplains, or the upper and lower towns, which was residential housing for the common people. Unsurprisingly, the granaries were the most significant structures in cities, providing storage for grain above flood level. One of the most important buildings was the Great Bath, used during festivals or religious ceremonies, and today is still watertight. The bath measured 11 meters by 7 meters and was about 2.5 meters deep. Entrance stairs graced the two ends. The walls were well-made tailored baked bricks covered with Egyptian plaster, rendering it watertight even today. One of the greatest civilizations, and perhaps one of the most advanced, the Indus Valley people created large cities and beautiful art. The earliest example of Indus script was found in Mohenjo-Daro around 3000 BCE, a corpus of symbols carved into clay tablets. Trading with other civilizations required a way to keep track of goods sold, and the Indus Valley River people created clay seals to represent identity, bill of sales, and to identify goods for sale for the merchants. This seal included a water buffalo and incense burning, along with the cuneiform symbols, all with a meaning to the owner. The dancing girl sculpture is perhaps one of the most well-regarded statues found in the Indus Valley. The statue was made about 2500 BCE and depicted a young girl standing in a confident, realistic dance pose with stylized proportions. Before the Renaissance, this is the oldest form of contrapposto, the asymmetrical pose of the human figure in which the arms and shoulders are in balance with the hips and legs, giving the figure a natural look. The nude dancing girl is 10.5 centimeters tall and has several bangles on her arms, jewelry pendants around her neck, and her long hair in a bun. The statue was made using the lost wax casting technique and demonstrates the metallurgic expertise of the Indus Valley. Metallurgy techniques were highly sophisticated, and artisans had access to bronze, lead, arsenic, and copper to manipulate into sculptures, ornaments, and tools. The trade routes provided the necessary materials for casting, and the Indus Valley people developed the lost wax casting techniques. The lost wax casting method is a process in which a sculpture is created from clay, and then a rigid outer mold is built around the original clay piece. After the mold is finished, wax is poured into the mold and swirled around to about 3 millimeters thick, creating an accurate cast of the sculpture. The wax copy is dipped into a silica slurry, making a copy of the wax. Then the bronze is poured into the mold, melting the wax out. After the bronze is cool, the mold is broken off and the sculpture is released and finished by polishing. Cultural anthropologists study the world and environment in which ancient people lived and thrived in many delta regions worldwide. Water was the bond holding the large civilizations together, with over 5 million people in the Indus Valley alone. Who were they and what were their lives like? The examination of artifacts can yield clues. However, anthropologists must ask themselves, what do these artifacts reveal about the culture, and how do they make the connection between what they found and what they know about the area's culture today? These statues of dancing females show how vital dancing must have been in the cultures over time. Dance is an ancient tradition steeped in classical Indian and Pakistani history, and includes folk dancing at festivals and weddings. Cultural anthropologists must ask whether the dance has been around forever or if this is a new invention. Although the Indus Valley people produced art, not much has been discovered. However, the little that has demonstrated the ability to use bronze, clay, and the stone to the highest levels, competing with any other civilization. The dancing girl from the Indus Valley is one of the greatest mysteries of the ancient world, and yet culturally the world has not evolved too far from the inhabitants whose written language we have yet to decipher.